to each other.
Hey everyone, Filmscape here, and today we are going to explain the entire series of The End of the F***ing World. Our main character James is a 17-year-old boy who thinks he might be a psychopath. He kills animals as a hobby, but soon gets bored with it. James decides he wants to try killing a human. He settles on Alyssa, a mouthy, rebellious 17-year-old classmate with issues of her own. Alyssa wants to escape from her difficult life and suggests that they run away together for a new adventure. James agrees, but his plan is to use this chance to carry out his dark desire. What starts as a risky escape turns into a dangerous journey neither of them can control. The story kicks off with James, a teenage boy who swears he feels nothing. He even dipped his hand in hot oil once, just to see if pain could wake him up. James lives with his dad, Phil. Phil is cheerful, cracks weak jokes, but James despises him for reasons even he doesn't fully understand. Instead of finding comfort in family, James finds comfort in killing small animals. But soon that thrill dries up, and he starts craving something bigger, more dangerous. Then comes Alyssa. She's bold, brash, and brand new at school after moving in with her mum Gwen, her stepdad Tony, and their twin babies. Gwen barely pays attention to her, too busy with the new family. Ignored by other girls at school, Alyssa spots James sitting alone. Something about his quiet, strange vibe pulls her in. For James, Alyssa becomes more than a distraction. She becomes his next possible target. They go to a diner where Alyssa mouths off to the waitress until they get kicked out. Instead of being annoyed, James feels intrigued. She's chaos in human form and he's hooked. Later, Alyssa heads back with him to his house. She senses something broken inside him when he casually mentions his mum lives in Japan, hiding how much it hurts. That night on his rooftop, Alyssa pushes for intimacy and promises to meet again the next day. James waits with a knife in hand, ready to end her life, but she never shows. At home, Alyssa is dealing with Tony, who crosses boundaries with a casual creepiness that breaks her tough front for a moment. Hurt and angry, she bolts to James. When she gets there, she strips down, expecting sex, but James's mind is stuck on darker thoughts. Before he acts, Alyssa suggests they run away together. It throws him off balance. Maybe she doesn't have to die. Not yet. Maybe she's the only person who makes him feel something. They take his dad's car after James knocks Phil out cold. And just like that, they're on the run with no plan, just adrenaline and each other. On the road, the freedom tastes sweet. First thing they do, play laser tag like kids who've been let loose. James doesn't care much for it, but Alyssa's all in until her money's gone. They grab food after, but skip paying. Alyssa calls it a lesson from her dad, who always said chain restaurants don't matter. James quietly clocks how much she idolizes a man she barely knows. Things take a wild turn when Alyssa tries to hook up with James in the car. Nervous, he crashes it. The car explodes in a fireball, and now they're stranded, hitchhiking. A seemingly friendly ex-army guy picks them up, even hands James a sweater. But he talks about buying a dog for fighting, not as a pet, and Alyssa catches a bad vibe. The man offers to call family for them. James lies, saying his mum is dead, contradicting his earlier Japan story. Alyssa files that away. They stop at a diner. When James is left alone with the man, things turn ugly in the bathroom. The driver attacks him, and James freezes, unable to fight back. Alyssa barges in, threatening the man until he hands over his wallet. Outside, she asks James if it's happened before. His silence says enough. At a motel later, Alyssa finally breaks. She locks herself in the bathroom and cries while James, knife in hand, stands outside ready to kill her. But the sound of her tears weakens him, and he puts the blade away. Alyssa tries calling her mum, but Tony answers coldly, shutting her down. Back home, Gwen stares at the phone, trapped in her silence. Alyssa keeps a birthday card from her real dad close. It's the only piece of him she has left. That night in the motel, Alyssa admits she'll never go back home. She asks James if he really wants to be with her. His answer comforts her enough to let her guard down. They lie together, and for once she feels safe. James holds her, but his face shows the truth. His head is still filled with dark, violent thoughts. Meanwhile, Phil calls the cops, worried about his missing son. James and Alyssa wake up in the motel, still fully dressed, clinging to each other in silence. James drifts into a memory of his mother on a backyard swing, a soft moment that shows how deep his loneliness runs. They leave the motel, paying in cash stolen from the man who attacked James. James wants to head toward Alyssa's dad, but Alyssa suggests laying low first. Her version of hiding is bold. She smashes a window and sneaks them into an empty house. The house belongs to Clive, a writer, but for now it feels like their own little kingdom. Alyssa raids the liquor cabinet and jokes about becoming an alcoholic. They play house, drink wine, and eat dinner in the yard before tossing plates into the pool like kids pretending to be adults. Alyssa pulls James to dance. For a moment, James closes his eyes, lets go, and even kisses her back. It's their first real kiss, fragile but real. Alyssa tries to take things further, but James stops her. That rejection cuts deep, and she storms out. She meets a guy named Topher and drags him back to spite James. Inside, James busies himself and finds Polaroids and tapes revealing Clive is a predator. Upstairs, Alyssa tries to hook up with Topher but quickly backs out, showing her own brokenness. James, meanwhile, quietly places flowers in a vase, still thinking of Alyssa. Later, he sits beside her bed with a knife in hand but hesitates. He lies down on the floor and falls asleep instead. Just as things feel calm, Clive returns. He finds Alyssa in his bed and turns predatory. James leaps from under the bed and stabs him in the neck, killing him as blood pours over Alyssa. Both of them stand frozen, staring at the body, and James whispers the question that hangs heavy. Alyssa admits she is still a virgin. Clive's lifeless body lies on the floor, and reality slams into James. He thought he could kill without emotion, but nausea takes over and he vomits. Alyssa is shaken, not just by Clive but by James's coldness. James shows her Clive's photos and tapes, proof he was dangerous, but Alyssa doesn't want the police. She wants to erase every trace and run. She clings to her leather jacket, the only thing that connects her to her dad. They burn their clothes in a field, fire licking away the evidence, and head toward her father's place. But tension brews. Alyssa is wary now. James killed easily and carried a knife all along. James insists he was protecting her, but Alyssa feels unsettled. They disguise themselves, change clothes, and stop at a restaurant. Alyssa slips out mid-meal, leaving James behind. Alone, James faces the crushing silence. He remembers how his dad hated silence because it forced you to feel. Now James knows he isn't a psychopath. He's just damaged, running from trauma. To punish himself, he pays a group of teens to beat him until he's bloodied on the ground. A painful truth hits him. Alyssa was never the one he was protecting. She was the one protecting him.
Meanwhile, Clive's mother discovers his body and burns the incriminating Polaroids before calling the cops. Detectives Terry and Eunice pick up the case, quickly tracing Topher through his wallet. Topher spills what little he remembers: Alyssa, her leather jacket, and a boy named James. As the detectives piece things together, James spirals in his own head. His memories blur between Clive's death and something darker, himself as a child, staring at horrors he still hasn't escaped. Detectives Terry and Eunice take on the tough job of knocking on doors. First stop is James's house. His dad Phil puts on a clumsy act, saying James just ran away. He hides the fact his son stole his car and punched him before leaving. The bruise on his eye says it all, but Phil still covers for James like a dad too lost to admit the truth. Next, they head to Alyssa's place. Her stepdad Tony can't keep his mouth shut. He interrupts Gwen non-stop until the detectives finally tell him to quiet down. Tony storms off like a child throwing a tantrum, leaving Gwen fragile and broken, holding back tears. Terry and Eunice build their picture of events, James as the unstable boy dragging poor Alyssa into chaos. They're not entirely wrong. James did plan to kill Alyssa in the beginning, and Alyssa did get tangled in the mess. Meanwhile, Eunice tries to connect personally with Terry, bringing up the night they slept together. Terry brushes it off, saying she doesn't regret it, but wishes it never happened. Eunice is left hanging, hurt. Elsewhere, James and Alyssa feel the weight of being apart. They realize life without each other only makes the storm heavier. James flashes back to his childhood, the day his mum ended her life by driving into a pond while he stood helpless on the shore. That memory scars everything he is. At a police station, James finally cracks. He confesses not about Clive, but about his mother. The pain spills out. When asked who can take care of him, only Alyssa comes to mind. James bolts from the station, running back to the cafe where they last saw each other. Alyssa meanwhile tries moving on but gets caught stealing tampons after her period starts. The security guard corners her, but when a child goes missing in the store, he gets distracted. Alyssa does the right thing and brings the little girl back. The guard softens, gives her food, and asks about her bruises. Alyssa says it wasn't James, but she won't explain further. Seeing her pain, the guard lets her go. Wandering the streets, Alyssa realizes James wasn't trying to control her. He was trying to protect her. She goes back to the cafe and finds him waiting. He admits the money's gone, but Alyssa doesn't care. She didn't come back for that. She sits beside him, holds his hand, and for once the silence feels safe. James smiles, and it's the first real peace he's had in years. Something shifts. They're not just messed up teens clinging to each other anymore. They're each other's anchor now. Alyssa admits she feels like herself when she's with James, while James realizes Alyssa didn't return because she needed saving. She came back because she wanted him. They steal another car, stuck with a radio blasting one annoying song on loop, and head toward her dad's place. Along the way, Alyssa calls her mum from a payphone. She keeps it short, she's done with that life. Gwen lies to Tony about the call, still too weak to stand up to him. The mood is lighter until the car runs out of gas. They pull into a tiny station run by a sharp-eyed manager and a slacker teen named Frodo. Suspicion rises quick when the manager notices the stolen car, and how clueless James and Alyssa act. She orders Frodo to call the cops. Tension spikes when she grabs Alyssa, but James pretends to have a gun, scaring her enough to back off. They lock her in the bathroom with Frodo's help. Frodo, desperate for rebellion, starts trashing the store in the weakest way possible, drinking milk and knocking over keychains. James and Alyssa slip away before the cops arrive, leaving Frodo behind. Finally, they reach the trailer where Alyssa's dad now lives. Alyssa greets him with hope, wanting to reconnect. James, who once thought he couldn't feel love, tries to comfort her when she feels abandoned. Meanwhile, detectives keep digging. They press Phil about giving James a hunting knife as a kid, which only makes him look clueless. Eunice investigates deeper and finds Clive's past full of abuse. She pushes his mother, who resists at first but eventually delivers the videotape she'd hidden. Eunice shows it to Terry, who finally starts to see Eunice was right all along. This case is darker and heavier than they thought. James and Alyssa finally get to Alyssa's dad's trailer. But Leslie isn't the dream dad Alyssa built up in her head. He's a washed-up guy who drinks too much, sells weed to kids, and pretends his empty words are wisdom. Still, Alyssa looks at him like he's gold. Every smile from him lights up her face, and she soaks it in, desperate to be seen. James doesn't buy it. He watches Leslie carefully, already knowing this man is trouble. Leslie warms up a little when James throws a knife dead center into a target. For a moment, James earns respect. Leslie promises them a boat trip, which excites Alyssa, but his work turns out to be slinging drugs to teens younger than her. The boat itself is a sad little thing, but Alyssa keeps believing. James suggests leaving, but she clings to her dad like he's her lifeline. At the station, Eunice and Terry bring in the parents. Gwen cracks first, blaming James II. She sees footage of the gas station robbery. Tony stomps out behind her, useless as ever. Phil stays, quietly telling the detectives about James's birthday coming up. He's turning 18. He even shares a picture of James as a kid, a normal boy before life twisted him. He admits the truth about his wife's suicide, laying bare the pain James grew up with. Eunice thinks they should go after the kids gently, but Terry wants to wait until James is 18 so he can be charged as an adult. The coldness stuns Eunice, who sees two scared kids, not hardened criminals. Meanwhile, at Leslie's, things get weirder. He does yoga in his underwear, quoting lines he claims are genius when they're nonsense. Alyssa beams like he's a prophet, while James looks ready to gag. At the pub, Leslie flirts shamelessly with the bartender, but Alyssa still beams at his promise of a boat ride. James feels her slipping away. Then Leslie breaks down crying mid-dance, saying he's useless. Alyssa comforts him, praising him for never forgetting her birthdays. Reality crashes in when Debbie from Leslie's old house arrives with a young boy, Leslie's other kid. Alyssa's world shatters. The man she idolized is no better with this son than he was with her. Leslie runs out drunk, reverses his truck, and crushes a dog. The dog is left dying. James tries to end its pain but breaks down in tears. The same boy who once killed animals without blinking now can't do it. Alyssa takes the rock and finishes the job, her hope turning colder, while James learns how much he's changed. That night, Eunice quietly sets up near Leslie's trailer after Debbie tips her off. Inside, Leslie flips channels until he lands on the security footage of James and Alyssa at the robbery. His face changes. Now he knows exactly who they are, and that there's money on their heads. On the beach, James and Alyssa dig a small grave for the dog. They bury it in silence, fragile and raw. James kisses Alyssa, a rare and tender moment. They lie close, but Alyssa pulls away when dark memories of Clive resurface. She tells James there's no rush, they have time. Morning comes. Alyssa wonders about her dad's other kids and admits he's worse than her mum. James shares his deepest wound, watching his mum end her life while he did nothing. Alyssa tells him it wasn't his fault, the one truth he's needed to hear. A plan forms. Take Leslie's boat and run far away. Eunice watches from outside the trailer, ignoring Terry's calls. Alyssa wakes Leslie and demands the keys. He pretends to agree but slips and dials 99. He pushes for details about the murder. Alyssa says Clive was about to hurt her. It was survival, not murder. Eunice hears every word. James checks Leslie's phone, catches him red-handed, and takes the blame on the line, saying he killed Clive alone. When James exposes him, Alyssa stabs Leslie in the leg, rage flooding through her. Eunice steps in, calm and firm, begging them to surrender. She says it's James's birthday. He just turned 18. Alyssa wishes she could have bought him a gift. Eunice reminds him his dad still carries a photo of his family, proof that someone still cares. Leslie, shameless, twists the knife. He tells Alyssa to ditch James, to save herself. Alyssa finally sees through him, realizing the birthday cards were from her mother, not him. Her faith in him dies on the spot. She silences him and asks Eunice if jail means separation. Eunice says yes. Alyssa breaks, apologizes, then knocks Eunice out with Leslie's rifle. They run for the boat, but the police are already there. James makes his final move. He tells Alyssa to say he kidnapped her. He apologizes, then knocks her down with the rifle to sell the story. Before she can react, the police swarm. Gunfire echoes. James runs, buying her a chance. Alyssa screams his name, the sound tearing through the chaos. A final gunshot rings out. James, the boy who thought he couldn't feel, learned love at the very end. Alyssa, the girl who thought nobody cared, found someone who did. Their story ends not with escape, but with heartbreak. And that's the recap. If you liked the story, hit that like button, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. See you next time.